This is Ryan and Michelle, and welcome to the Celebrate MarriageCast, where we hope to restore and reclaim godly marriages through honest and real conversations.
Welcome to episode 23. We're glad you're here with us today.
Yeah, so glad you guys are here. Michelle, I want to share something that has never happened before in the history of the Celebrate MarriageCast.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
You ready?
I'm ready. Everyone's
Michelle.
ready. Are you ready,
Yes.
listeners?
Our anti-Valentine's Day episode.
Anti. Double negative.
Yes.
Yes, it was great.
Had over 1,000 views on all platforms.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
We did it.
We did it. Super excited about that. In fact, I think as of what we had was 1,150.
Amazing. Thank you, listeners.
Yes.
That's so incredible. Ryan, you said you just got served your first ad listening to the podcast, which I know is kind of like, ooh, an ad.
I don't know if that's good or bad.
But I feel like that's, moving on
Right.
up.
Right.
Yay, Celebrate MarriageCast,
Yay, yes.
reaching more and more people.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
that's so exciting. Well, we have some special guests with us today. We have a couple from Celebrate Church, our home church here, Sioux Falls, South Dakota, the makers of the Celebrate MarriageCast. We have Leonard and Roberta Scholten, who have been married for 62 years this upcoming June. They're faithful members of Celebrate Community Church. They're actively mentoring through our marriage ministry here. They love the Lord, and they just want to serve Him and use their experience in life and marriage to reach others for Him. Welcome, Leonard and Roberta. We're so glad to have you
Welcome.
to the show.
Yeah, glad to be here.
Yeah, it's so great to have you guys back. You helped with a marriage montage, just advice that we did back in November. And we just thought you guys were so great and had so much to share.
Yeah.
So we're so happy to have you guys back with us.
Thank you. Thank you. It's good to be here.
I think we just smiled that whole interview. You were just endearing and you were funny and wise and all the things.
Mm-hmm.
So we truly are glad to have you back
Thank
to
you.
our show today.
Yeah. So some time ago, and maybe you guys can share on this. I think it was through some of the mentoring that you guys do. You guys wrote down some nuggets, some tips, some really just like gold here. And based on the years of marriage, based on almost 62 years, and you called it Ramblings from a Seasoned Couple.
So fun.
I love that title. As I said, used it in your mentoring and serves as a great, really kind of starting point for conversations. We thought we'd talk about some of those nuggets today. I think we're actually going to post that full list as well in the show notes.
Yeah, we just asked if that would be okay.
Sure,
and
that's fine.
you guys said yes. So what a gift to our listeners.
Yes, I'm super excited. This is going to be so much fun. So. First off, maybe just share a little bit about each other, about you guys, who you are, and
how you came to Celebrate.
Yeah.
Okay. I know we have lived in many towns and started out in Sioux Falls and ended up in Sioux Falls. We like Celebrate. We like the youth of Celebrate. The fact that it's energetic and maybe a little different from traditional churches, but we have been to many and we like it here.
Awesome.
Again, she said like the young couples and the kids. And I like Keith's attitude about kids. He says, let them run.
Yeah.
Like she said, we've been in a lot of different churches, and we go a long ways back, and you didn't do anything. You sat in the pew, and you behaved.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the way it was.
Yeah.
If you didn't, you went out. But that's what I like about it. There's so many churches, if you watch on TV and the services they have, it's just about all gray hair. There are no kids.
Yeah.
And if that's going on now, what's going to happen in 30, 40 years?
Sure. Yeah.
Because they say, less than half of the people go to church now in the United States?
Yeah.
It's going to get worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a reason that we come to Celebrate.
Yeah.
Yeah. So cool.
One of the things that I like about it is there's not so much liturgy, where you do all the different creeds and all of that kind of thing. To me, that's not a big deal.
Yeah.
For some people it is.
Sure.
And I can understand that. So that's kind of why we're celebrating.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's the cool thing about the body of Christ and the kingdom is that there are different churches for different people and we're all trying to lift his name up and serve and glorify God and grow in Christ. And that's amazing. Do you guys have hobbies or anything? Is there anything that like is really fun or unique about you guys in that way?
Hobbies?
He golfs.
I like to play golf.
Yeah. Yeah. Roberta, do you golf?
I do golf. I'm a fair weather golfer, though.
Okay.
I like it. I'm not very good, but I like to go out. But I want the weather really nice.
Yeah, me too.
72 degrees,
Yeah, 72
no wind.
sunny, no wind, right?
Yeah, very fun.
But I do a lot of crafts. I have a cricket machine. I do cricket. I do a lot of things on the computer. I embroidery, sew.
Cool.
I knit, those kind of things.
Awesome.
But
that's great.
Yeah,
very cool.
I do like the crafts.
I do too.
Yeah.
I feel like it just kind of fires up a side of my brain that I'm like, oh, I really like this. I need to make more time for it.
Right.
So that's really fun. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to jump into some of these tips, but first, I just want to say thank you to both of you. Leonard, you had talked about, gray hair, right? And I think what's super great and why I'm so excited about this is that you guys have been married 61, almost 62 years, and here you are wanting to give back, to mentor young marriages, to share this wisdom, to be on a podcast, to share what you have. I think that's why this is so cool and why I'm super excited and just to say thank you for being willing to share what you've learned.
Well, thank you. Thank you. The ramblings from the seasoned couple kind of came quite a few years ago. We had a couple that we were in close relationship to that was struggling with their marriage. And we happened to be on our way to Arizona for a month. And so we weren't able to be with them, physically. So in our drive down to Arizona, we just sat in the car and thought about these things.
Cool.
And they're all just simple things
practical.
that you can do to make your marriage better, to make your spouse feel better. There's nothing earth-shattering about any of it,
Yeah.
But I hope it helps other people.
I'm sure it will.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure it will. I mean, just to glean wisdom from almost 62 years is incredible.
Yeah.
So thank you for being generous and sharing that.
No
Absolutely.
problem.
We're going to jump into, I think we have 3 today, and then we're actually going to have you back for next week's show and go over 3 more. So
Absolutely. So tip 1 that you give is keep God as your focus. He is your guide, your glue, and the one that can show you the way through scripture and prayer. Why has this been such a priority for you guys?
Do you want to start?
Well, we come from the old generation where back in the day, you just went to church. I mean, there was no question. We lived in a small town. All of our friends went to church. Their parents went to church. It was just something you did. And through the years, it just stayed with us.
Yeah.
I mean, some people, they get away from it. We just kept going. And our kids went to church. They were involved in church. We were involved in church. I was a Sunday school superintendent, which, quote unquote, but I did that. She played the organ for a couple, 3, 4 different churches. So we've been involved in churches for a long time.
Yeah.
Plus, a lot of our relatives were ministers.
Okay.
And I don't put myself out to be a minister because I'm a long ways from it. And I have never really acted like a minister should. But that's why we go to church.
Yeah.
And then one thing I wanted to mention too was maybe we were lucky, but schools and and your town even really. Sunday was a day they left alone.
Sure.
Okay.
Wednesday night was church night, and they left that alone.
Yeah.
You didn't have people running off to kids' ball games, different things. And I'm not against any of that kind of stuff, but it seems like sometimes, if kids are in a let's say basketball, and if they don't go on Sunday, then they're kind of held back, or they don't get to play as much, if they don't do what the coach wants.
Yeah.
And I think we need to go back to honoring the Sunday and the church night as a city and as a school system.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether that's going to happen or not, but that's the way we were raised, and that's the way our kids were raised. But I know it's kind of a different world right now.
Yeah.
And it's a hard decision for
Sure.
parents when kids want to, I want to go play basketball,
Yeah.
Mom and
Right.
Dad, and you say, no, you have to go to church. That's a hard decision.
Yeah.
I think just the other day we got an email for a baseball camp. Our son has started showing an interest in going to baseball camps, and it was for Sunday morning. And I was like, well, pass on that, but
Yeah.
we'll catch the next one. So
Right.
I don't know. I always think that you have a chance to kind of like vote with your dollars and your actions. And I don't know. I know people are still going, but
Yeah.
we're not going. So,
Right.
Yeah.
And it's hard for you.
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't have that problem.
Right.
Our kids never came up to us and said, we got to go play ball. That wasn't part of the deal. I mean,
Yeah.
they just didn't do it.
Yeah.
It isn't that they did things on Sunday. It's just that they weren't missing church to
Yeah.
go and play
Sure.
ball.
Yeah. We've not allowed our kids, and they haven't wanted to either. I know that was
Right.
a thing that came up with volleyball too, and we just didn't.
Yeah. Right.
So, but that's
Yeah.
tough. That's a tough
Yeah.
decision
Yes,
to
it
make.
is.
So,
Right.
tip number 2 for today, you had said to join a life group as a couple. You will learn a lot from them, and having a support group is crucial. Can you talk to us a little bit about life groups and your journey with them?
Sure. We have also been with many life groups.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, so that is good, because basically, if you find a life group and it's not a fit, people could change, right?
Right.
So, yeah, tell us about that.
Actually, we were in a church in Brainerd where you were encouraged only to go to your life group for a year.
Oh, interesting.
And they
Sure.
wanted you to then go to a different life
Sure.
group and meet new people and
Sure.
learn different things from, the different life group people. They had a unique system on a particular Sunday of the year. It would be life group Sunday. They would set up tables around, and this was in Brainerd. And of course, you live around the lake, so there's nothing square miles over there.
Sure.
And so they would have the location where the host would be, and then they would have the book of what they were studying.
Sure.
And you could just walk around and look at the different tables
Sure.
and sign up for a new life group. So that
Sure.
was very different.
Yeah. On our 5-Minute Friday coming up this week, we are going to talk about life groups. So tune in for that, and we're going to show you how you can find a life group that fits. But what would you say the role has been of a life group in your life? What are you currently in a couples life group together? And like, how important has that been for you?
They've been very important.
We, I don't know how many years it was. It was not really Celebrate's life group, but it was a life group that we started, I can't imagine how many years ago.
Sure.
And it was couples that we were friends with. And to show that it really means something is, as you get to our age, your friends start to pass away. And our particular life group, we had 4 couples.
Mhm.
And within a year, basically all four of them, one of them got sick of some kind.
Oh.
Wow.
One of them has since passed away. Two of them had the same, which is very unique. They had the same cancer.
Wow.
And one went through quite a time, and he is now in remission.
Wow.
The other one that had the same cancer, I went to visit him in Thanksgiving, I believe it was, at the hospital. And I thought, I won't see him very much longer.
Yeah.
I mean, he was in tough shape. I seen him a month ago, and you can't believe it.
Wow.
But they did.
Praises
What
for
they did
that.
is they changed medicine.
Sure.
And he was a bus driver, and of course he had to quit because he was so sick, and now he's a full-time bus driver again.
Wow.
So couples make a lot of difference.
Yeah.
We
I mean-
did a lot of praying
Wow.
during for each other.
Wow.
A lot of texting back and forth about, and we had a group, and I during the same time had lymphoma, and so I took chemo, and actually I did not get that sick.
Wow.
But the support that group brings to you when you're going through something like that is unbelievable. And we shared Bible verses, and we shared different, things that it was wonderful.
What a beautiful picture of the church just being there
Yes.
for one another
Mhm.
and encouraging you and being with you in your valleys. That's really just a beautiful picture of what it's meant to be like.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. The life and life groups, like I said, we've been in a variety of them. Some of them had a real different eclectic group of people.
Sure.
And you learn from them too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a ladies' life group also that is just our neighborhood life group, and we have a wonderful time together. We're all a little older, and we have so many laughs. One is a former pastor's. I mean, he was a former pastor. His wife, and she is just a card. She can relate stories from
Sure.
being a pastor's wife and some of the things that go on with that. And we just have a wonderful time, and we too support each other. Taking meals if your husband is sick, we'll take food. Whatever we can think of to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so great. I feel like we experienced that when you had your health, the issues, the broken leg, and we were in a really busy season with our group at the time, but we still had people showing up with groceries and text messages, and it was really, really special. In our current group, we just had dinner together. So we literally broke bread and had dinner together 2 weeks ago, and that was such a special experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just be in like deep community with them and know, what we can be praying for and the struggles and the challenges, and to know you're not alone, and then to actually have them text you and say, hey, how's that thing going? And it's like, oh my gosh, you remembered and actually like followed up on, right now I'm searching for a job and followed up on this thing and that thing and different things.
Sure.
So just really means a lot.
And the communication that you have.
Yeah.
I just think communication is so important
Yeah.
in your life, in your marriage, and also with your acquaintances.
Yeah.
And you should just keep in touch with everybody. And nowadays, it's so simple.
It is.
You don't even have to sit down and write a note anymore. You can just quick do it on your phone or on the computer, and it's and I'm not sure that young people do as much communicating as they should. Personally, I know they're busy,
Yeah.
but I think it takes just a couple of minutes to give a quick note.
Yeah. Yeah. I get what you mean.
Keeps you in touch.
It can be, weeks or whatever before you text someone or, a friend. And I've had that happen to me where it's like, oh my gosh, it's been a month since I've texted Crystal, and oh my gosh. But it's just breaking free of that and trying to be a little more intentional about
That's
taking
correct.
a second. And you're right, it only takes a second to send a message. So you had both talked about developing couple friendships, people that you really enjoy being with, similar interests, similar beliefs. I feel like that's really important, the belief part too. Can you talk a little bit about that part of it?
Okay.
Is that outside of your life group then, like other friends, or do you have a couple friend from within that life group that you kind of start doing more things with, or how has that worked for you guys?
I think it's more outside of our life groups.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I mean, we're close with our life group,
Yeah.
but no, this is just people that we have met along our journey, our married journey. Sometimes some people you just click with,
Mhm.
and you just should make an effort to call them up and say, "Hey, come over and play cards," or let's go out, let's meet to eat, or come over and have a picnic and bring your kids.
Sure.
And I think that's important, that your kids get to know their kids, because that too is a relationship.
For sure.
know.
Yeah.
And we have been blessed in having so many friends and neighbors. We've always had good neighbors too, which is another whole realm of acquaintances.
Yeah.
you know.
Huge blessing
Yes,
to have a
it
neighborhood
is.
like that.
Mhm.
That's cool. I think what jumped out for me on that statement too is when you said the beliefs, when you had written, I think it's in the ramblings, you had said similar interests and beliefs. And I think, we've talked about how this is a quote out there, but you're the sum of the 5 to 7 people you're around. And we've had seasons where we've had to reevaluate, like, hey, like, this couple seems like they, they're just kind of wanting to, like, they go out and they'll have drinks, and that's not really what we want our whole friendship to, that's not what we want to be around. We want to have more developing growth conversations. We want to have community where that's not a thing, and we've just had to reevaluate in seasons like, who are we hanging out with and how are they living and what do we want rubbing off on us?
Yes.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like,
That's kind of what we meant there too.
Yeah.
As an example, we have a card club that we started in 1962.
wow, that's so cool. What card game?
Pinochle.
But we don't play cards anymore.
Okay.
But it was pinochle.
Okay.
Double pinochle.
Do you still
It
call
was
yourself a
double.
card club? Yeah, the card club.
we call it card
Okay, I love it. Yeah.
And we still get together once a month and go out to eat now. We just eat. We don't play cards.
And we go at noon now. Of course
Okay.
we can.
Sure.
So it's
Yeah.
Lunch
it's been
special.
that long.
But
with that
those
couple.
friends they've moved. We
Yeah.
have moved.
We've moved. We come
They
back.
have moved. We've been back and forth, and we still get together as much as, And now
That's
we're all
cool.
kind of right back here again.
Yeah.
Wow.
Cool.
Yeah.
Do you feel like they have like similar beliefs and
Oh,
yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. That's really important.
And our kids grew up together, and they had such wonderful times together.
That's cool. That's special.
Some of it was they were they were a little messy. I'll tell you about I learned to knit from a German lady that had married a soldier.
Wow.
And she counted in German, and she was wonderful. But so the ladies that I learned to knit with, would get together, and it was the men's night to take care of the kids. And so us, the host of the knitting group, that was fine. We'd knit together and have a little lunch. And then one of the houses would have the men with the kids.
That was a crazy
That
house.
was a little bit, sometimes a little bit more messy. But that's the group, and we still,
That's cool.
yeah.
Yeah.
How special.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
really special to have those friendships over the
Yeah.
years.
And
That's cool.
Yeah, I think it's so important to have people that are on the side of your marriage.
Yes.
People that you're around that really care about you, but care about your marriage as well. And I think that's so important to have those people that are on your side, that
Yeah.
are wanting to fight for your marriage with you.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's so important. I think that's so That's so cool to have those relationships dating back that long that they just care about you guys. They care about your marriage as well.
Right.
Well, and they're not afraid to tell you.
Yeah.
If you're, what should I say, getting I don't know what the word would be, but
Like
where you're getting out of line. I guess
something?
getting out of
Yeah.
line.
Yeah.
They're not afraid to tell you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You better
Because you're best
straighten
friends.
it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
Your best
Yeah.
friends is going to tell you when you're, not doing something you should be doing.
Yeah.
They're going to let you know.
Yeah.
And
that's a
that's
great
what we
thing.
should do with them too.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's a really great thing.
And they would not be afraid to call you at 3 a.m. if they needed help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Or they would come to help you at 3 in the
Yeah.
morning.
Yeah.
That's really doing life together
Yeah.
too.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Leonard, Roberta, this has been so good. I love that conversation just about friends. Tip 3 that you shared here, and this is interesting. I think we can kind of dive into this, but develop special interests or hobbies for yourself. Allow your spouse to do the same. What does that look like for the two of you?
Well, as you know, Leonard likes to golf.
Yeah.
And I am a fair weather golfer. I do not care how much he golfs. He can golf as much as he wants. And I would do my stuff as much as I want. I mean, you can't say, oh, geez, I wish you weren't going golfing again today,
Yeah.
You have, because he loves it. And I have to realize that he loves to golf. And it is a timely diversion.
right.
That's the one I think bad thing for people with young children is golf takes like 4 hours out of your family's day,
Yeah.
And so I don't think it did with us because when our kids were little, you didn't, you golfed a little bit.
Not much.
And not so terribly much. But now he can golf all he wants.
Sure.
Our kids are gone.
So was there a season, Leonard, that you kind of gave that up a little bit more to help more around the home, or
Well, I really just didn't.
just
There
didn't
were so
golf?
many other things going on
Sure.
that I really didn't go out
Yeah.
golfing much.
Yeah.
Our kids were, like I said, we were in a small town, so they were in choir and they were in basketball and all those kind of things. So we gave that time to them. I mean,
Right.
I wasn't.
Especially when they were in high school.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I wasn't going to go golf if they had something going on,
Like
I
a
mean,
ball game or
yeah.
something.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a great distinction in, I think part of this is finding that right mixture of the two,
Mhm.
and I appreciate that of saying like, hey, like if there's family things going on, that's priority,
Mhm.
but also it's important to have your own interest as well.
Sure.
Right.
And I think that's a great distinction to bring that up.
And I've got to learn, or not learn. I've got to find some other hobby of some kind because it gets tiresome just sitting around. Retirement's fun.
Sure.
Every day
You
is
probably have a hard
Saturday.
time convincing this couple of that.
Every day is Saturday. So you say to yourself, well, what day of the week is it? And we usually know when Sunday comes around. But I've got to find something to do. I do my own mowing and blowing the snow and that type of thing. But
It's nice if you can find something you like to do at home.
yeah,
Sure.
I think
Sure.
that too is important. And that's what he really kind of needs. When I do my cricket stuff or that kind of
Sure.
stuff, that is at home.
Yeah.
But he needs to, like a lot of men do woodworking or lathe work or, that
Sure.
kind of stuff, which he just really never
No.
developed.
No.
So anyway, that's kind of what we meant there it's good to find something that you can do at home that you really enjoy.
Yeah.
Because, those kids don't last forever and then they move away. And then there you sit with just the two of you.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I feel like you see that a lot, Ryan, with work. And that's such a great point for people moving into that season of retirement or a retired life. You should speak a little bit about that.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's important to have that, to have hobbies, to have things to do. And I think that's, otherwise you get, you just sit on the couch.
That's right.
And you miss that purpose in life. And I think that's probably what spoke to me a little bit about, you guys with your mentoring is the fact that you're giving back. You have that, and I think it's great to have those hobbies, and I think it's important to each have your own. What is that? How do you support each other in that?
I more or less let her do whatever she wants to do.
Yeah.
Well, you guys are in a different season now, though, too, with more time flexibility and stuff like that. Yeah.
And Leonard is very good about helping out around the house.
Yeah.
He is very good at, he can cook a meal or do dishes or mop the floor or whatever, probably better than I can do it. Isn't that okay?
Yeah. That's awesome.
Has that always been the case?
No, that has not always been the case.
I learned that through the years.
Yeah.
Okay.
He helps out a lot. So that really frees me up then a lot to do the things that I like to do too,
Yeah.
So I think it's important to not see the woman's role, in all the house things, or the man's role in all of the outside things.
Yeah.
It's good to kind of interchange that.
Right.
And this might sound kind of a downer, but if I would pass away, I know that he can manage.
Sure.
He can manage the food and the house and the stuff like that. I have a cousin whose mother passed away, and her dad couldn't boil water. I mean, and so he was really just, when she passed away, he was just helpless.
Yeah.
And so it's good for you to change roles.
Yeah.
My mom was wonderful. When my dad passed away, he was early 60s. She lived until she was almost 99. She could run that house like crazy. She could fix almost anything.
Wow.
She,
impressive.
and that's
cool.
I'm not as good as she was, but that's something you women should really learn. I mean, this is kind of off the subject, but I have a girlfriend, and they were friends of our card club, actually, and he passed away. And she was going to change the furnace filter. And she said, that thing would not come out of that furnace. She said, you should have seen it when I got it out. And her son came and said, Mom, the furnace can't be running when you change the filter.
Oh,
now, I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either, but now I do.
Things like that.
Sure.
And I felt so sorry for her because she was still grieving.
Yeah.
And how frustrated she must have been when that darn furnace filter would not come out.
So I feel like the lesson here too is, guys, extra incentive for helping your wife with chores and vice versa for the spouses. Well, I love that you've been intentional about hobbies, and I think circling back, Ryan, what I was saying. So Ryan helps a lot of people retire. That's what you do for your career, and you've seen kind of that loneliness and sometimes kind of a depression set in when people retire and don't have things. So I love that you guys have hobbies. Even my own mother is retired in the last year, and she is actually coming to the church now to do data entry during the week. But there's so many ways. You guys are marriage mentors. There's so many things that you can get involved in. So I love that as well. Do you have any closing comments or thoughts as we kind of wrap up this first episode here?
Well, one of the questions that are on this closing question was what it's bringing your joy in your marriage right now.
Yeah.
And I guess right now, a lot of it is just our family, our immediate family and our extended family. We have 7 great grandchildren, and the next one on the way for April.
Wow.
So we're excited for that. And those kids, they are just special.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Lots
your
of energy, I'm
grandkids are
sure.
special, and then the great-grandkids are really special.
Wow.
And we were talking about it the other day. We said, we're back on the bleachers again, watching ball games.
Yeah. Because I
Yeah.
think of those, like, they have bleacher chairs now. Those are a great investment.
Yeah. Yeah.
$45 at Shields or whatever. Those
Yeah.
are great.
Yeah.
Well, let's jump into those questions, Ryan. Do you have a couple of
Yeah,
questions?
so we're
for them?
gonna kind of split this up into we're gonna ask two. We've got one already. We're
Yep.
gonna ask two this week and then one next week. But just kind of rapid fire questions here that we ask all of our guests. So really the next question is why is marriage important to you?
Oh, I would never want to be alone. I mean, it's a companionship for me. I guess that's off the top of my head.
I hadn't thought of it that way, but I could never be a single man, I guess is
Yeah.
what you'd call it.
Yeah.
I don't know what you'd do with your time. There's so many things that go on in your marriage that, well, grandkids, I mean, or the kids,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and then the grandkids, and then the great-grandkids. I mean, you lose all of that. I don't know what you do. And I know there are some people that are very good at being single.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I haven't even thought about being single.
Yeah.
I guess that's the way I look at it.
Yeah.
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 You
And
got to
I
have
think,
companionship.
that's the way God intended. Don't you think?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think God intended us not to be alone. And that's why he gave us, the desire to get married, the desire to have kids, because that's the way I think he planned it.
Yeah, he said, be fruitful and multiply. And I think God created us for community. The Apostle Paul said, if you can be single, do it. But if you can't, withhold those temptations, I mean, certainly get
That's
married.
right.
So
Yeah.
for some people, they have amazing ministries as single people. But I know for Ryan and I feel similar that, gosh, I know that God has used our marriage for so much more together than we could have done on our own. So marriage is definitely,
Yeah.
for us,
Absolutely.
and have seen God's work in it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Leonard, did you have anything? I don't know if we got to hear from you about what's bringing you joy in your marriage. Did you have anything else to answer or to add to that one? Grandkids, great-grandkids?
I guess just companionship, like
Yeah.
Roberta said. Being around people. My background is I worked in the banking profession, and I've been an instructor at a community college.
Oh, cool.
And being an instructor at the community college, I seen all kinds of things. I was an instructor up in Brainerd. Well, in Brainerd, there are people that have money, and there's a lot of people that don't have money. And they
Because of
live
the-
out in the outskirts, and they
because of
live
the
a whole
mines.
different life. And to see how some of those people are treated, and I'm not talking about other people treating them, it's the mom and the dad, the way they treat their kids, or the husbands and the wives. It was not unusual. Every once in a while, I'd have a person come in with a black eye.
Wow.
So I'd say to her, what happened? It was the old I ran into the door routine.
Wow.
And you knew very well what happened.
Yeah.
So that even makes it more, for me, it makes it more that you should be married to someone that is solid. I had an excellent student, and she had a little one. And this was like 4:00 in the afternoon. She said, well, I got to go home and study before it gets dark. I said, why? Well, she says, we don't have electricity.
Wow.
Wow.
Because her husband was on drugs.
Wow.
They had no electricity. They had no water. And she was raising a baby.
Wow.
I said, you got to get out of that mess.
Wow.
Now, whether she ever did, I don't know. But
And she was an excellent
and
student.
she was an excellent student.
Wow.
So I've seen what people can do to each other.
Yeah. You had your heart broken for that.
And it
Those
is.
people.
It's really sad. And you know very well that when they tell you that they ran into the door, they know that you know
Yeah.
that's not what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting how God works to put us in people's paths so we can be his, be Jesus to them in those moments.
Yep.
So it sounds like you were able to be that to her in that moment.
Well, and you don't want to, in those cases, you don't want to get to be a preacher. I mean, you can't just try and straighten them out, but
I think
it helps
Yeah. I mean, you
to
can
have a background.
to live it out. I mean, I
That's
think
right.
our action is being the gospel. We live it out
That's right.
every day. So you guys, thank you so much for being on our show today. We're excited to have you back next week.
Okay.
Okay.
And for our listeners, thank you for listening. We are going to help you find a life group this week on 5 Minute Friday. Also talk about maybe life groups aren't the next step for you. Maybe it's a care group, and we have some support groups we want to talk to you about. I also want to give you some book club recommendations. We were talking, Brian and I were talking, and I said we should almost have like a Celebrate MarriageCast book club.
Yeah.
Because we have a few reading assignments for you to be working on if you'd like to follow along with some of our upcoming guests. So last week we had Tony Boer on, and he talked about the marriage manual book that he has. So we're going to start reading that. We have copies. We each have a copy now. And we're going to start digging into that and working on having Tony come back as a guest. And then in 2 weeks, we will have a couple on, Josh and Katie Walters. They're from the East Coast. They are pastors at a large church out there, and they wrote a book called New Marriage, Same Couple. And they actually walk us through their story of infidelity and how God used that broken season of their marriage to repair, reconnect, what's the word I'm looking for? Restore it.
Yeah.
Not just repair, but to restore it, and how they've been able to walk through that super difficult season. They get really vulnerable in this book. So if you would like to pick up a copy of that, we'll be interviewing them in 2 weeks from today. So those are some reading books for you if you would like to have reading books, reading assignments. You can read books you can listen to on Hoopla or whatever.
Join the book club.
Join the book club, unofficial book club.
Yeah.
So thank you to our listener for joining us today on the Celebrate MarriageCast. If you would like additional help or marriage resources, you can find those at celebrate.church/marriage. Additionally, we'd love to hear your takeaway from today's show or your testimonials from any of our shows. How this impacted your marriage or your dating relationships. We would love to have you leave a message on our Celebrate MarriageCast call line. It's a voicemail box you can call into at 605-951-0110. You don't have to talk to anybody. You can just call and leave a message, and we will have that number in our show notes as well. Also in our show notes, we will have Leonard and Roberta's ramblings from a seasoned couple for you to read and learn from as well. Thank you so much for joining us, and have a great week.